And we just started recording. This is Coding with Python. My name's Paul Levy. I'm delighted to welcome Rupa Singh for this session. And please do look in the chat. Please take part in the chat and notice some of the links. The last thing I want to say is at the bottom right-hand corner of this Zoom meeting, if you don't know, are three little dots, and the three little dots enable you to save the chat at the end. And given we're saving also some useful questions, answers, some links and so on, do make sure you save the chat at the end. But without any more delay, over to you, Rupa, for Coding with Python Intermediate.
Thank you so much, Paul, for great support, as you have always been a great host and a great team. And first of all, I would like to thank you all the participants who have joined, and it's really amazing to see all of you. And thank you so much for joining for this session while you could have been doing so many other things in your life. And how many of you are excited about Python? Learning Python, and please type in the chat window me. Amazing. Ozzy, great. John, Clara, Ozzy.
It's just a chance to get everyone to use the chat as well. So we've got about nearly 30 people. Can everybody, I mean, you can say you're not looking forward to it. This is a perfectly valid answer too. But if you are, please say me in the chat, and let's get everyone just getting those fingers going so you know we want your input to this. So we've got Farah, we've got Guadalupe Seja as well. We've got lots of people saying me, also Garrick. Lots of excitement.
Great. So we had beginners with Python, and some of you had joined yesterday's session, while some of you have missed the beginners workshop. So that's completely okay. No worries about it. So as Paul said, we will be sharing the link. And in order to make sense of today's session, we'll just have a recap of what we did yesterday. So I'll just, do a quick recap.
I don't think I have access to those marketing closets.
So let me share my screen first. And just a second.
Just for the people who are joining too, the screen you're about to see in a moment as well is going to be on Google Collab. So for everyone to take part in this, you will need to have a Gmail account. You can get one quickly and then just delete it. But we're all going to be on Collab, so you don't need to download any Python apps.
Second.
All okay, Rupa? Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so this is what we learned in yesterday's session. So we learned what is identifier and how do we create identifiers. So identifiers are the rules to create variable names, and these are like variable names or function name or class or module name. So identifiers are just like the names that we create for ourselves, for us, that it starts, it has a certain rule like Paul or Rupa or John and Monsi. So we have a certain rule. We cannot write the names from 1, 2 or using the special characters. Similarly, when we create names for names in Python, we follow certain rules, and these rules are like it can start with A to Z, the upper cap letters or lower cap letters, but it should not start with digits, but it can contain digits. And then identifiers cannot contain all these special characters and can be of any length. And then we learned how to create variables and what are different data types, integers. So just let me give a quick review of how to create this. So in order to do a hands-on practice, we need to install, there are two options. The first is installing Anaconda software, and it's going to take a while, like half an hour or 1 hour, and it can be confusing to some of you since we are learning for the first time. So there is an easier approach to learn Python and to do hands-on practice with Python. And what we can do is just go to your web browser, and I would advise, okay, so I would advise all of you to log in from your computers, go to your web browser and type in here Google Colab. This is how you, okay.
And what we're saying here is this isn't going to work well on a mobile device. This is very much for using with a computer.
Right. So Google Colab, and you see this option. So I'll be sharing this link with you. Amazing. So if you had difficulty finding this URL, you can just use this and copy paste in your web browser. And then here we will get an option to sign in, right? As you can see here at the right hand corner at the upper side, you see this option as sign in, and we can sign in here with my Gmail account. For example, here I sign in with my Gmail account. So here I already have, okay, I haven't signed it. Just a second. So when I sign in from my Gmail account, I get, okay, cool. So this is the page I get. All right. So please let me know if you could follow along till now, if you were able to follow along and we are on the same page.
And just as this is an intermediate course, I mean, we're using Google Colab, and I know, of course, there are other platforms you can actually download. Is it possible to do serious Python coding just using Google, or is it just a learning platform?
It is the learning platform, and you can also use it for Python coding. But when you install Anaconda software, then all these are your personal files and you can easily access. So let me show you how does it look like here. Okay. Sure. So as you can see here, Jupyter Notebook. Can you see this? Please confirm if you can see this. Okay. So these are the files that I can create. All these files that I can create and work on this, and it's easily accessible for me. And so this is how we, when we install Anaconda software, then we work on Jupyter Notebooks. But just a second, I lost that option. Collab. All right. So let me find out. Okay, so we are on the same page now, and just go to this file and new notebook, and here we create a new notebook. All right, and it's just taking some while. All right, so now I have a new notebook, and here these are the cells where I write down the program, and when I run it, it gives me the output. And here you can, as we can see here, untitled 25, you can name this file as March workshop 2. This is how I create this file, and I save this file. And the first Python code that I can write it as hello Python. And here is the option for running this particular code. And if I click on this, if I press this icon, black icon, I get the output as hello Python. Fortunately, it's a bit slow. All right, so I get this result. I'm still seeing the Collab page. Okay. So Clara, you need to you need to sign into this Collab page through your Gmail account. And here you can see the option as file, and then just go to new notebook, and then you get this option for writing a code. Okay, so now then we have created a variable name, such as variable name can be anything, for example var name, and I assign these values. For example, I assign 80. And so this is how I create a variable name. And the rules to create a variable name is following the identifier rules, which is it can contain uppercase letter or lowercase letter, and it can also contain digits from 0 to 9, but it cannot start with um, these digits. For example, if I write something like this, ABC, 5 ABC, and 1, 2, 3, then this is the wrong variable. And this is not how we define a variable name. And hash is used to write down a comment. When we use hash sign before writing any expression, then Python considers it as a comment, and it does not. So when you run this piece of, you run this cell, it does not throw any error. Okay, but if I run this without any hash sign, then it gives me this particular error that it's an invalid index. And why do we comment? Because so that we know that what we are doing with the code. All right, so this is how we had this all these things we had learned. And then we learned about the data types. For example, 5 is an integer data type. And so I want to find out what is the data type of this particular number. Then it gives me integer. Similarly, I have 80.9. And if I want to find the type of this particular item, then it gives me float. Okay, so these are some of the things that we learned yesterday. And today's session, we are going to learn about list and tuples. So what are lists? Okay, so what are lists? Lists are the syntax for creating a list is, for example, I write down a variable name like list name equal to, and then syntax for creating this is using the square brackets. So whenever you are using square brackets, then it is Python understands it as a list. Okay, and lists are mutable objects. So we are going to learn that. So for example, I can write these numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is how I can create a list. So let me try to explain you in a more easier way. Okay, so
We're just a little bit slow on the screen, lagging a bit here, so it's a good pace to go at anyway. when we're learning.
Okay. So, so we are going to learn about lists. Okay, so what are lists? First of all, lists are something which is written under these square brackets. Okay, and for example, we can put any items in the list. For example, um, this is a different element, and then maybe we can store something like tree or house. Okay, or maybe a fish. Okay, so list can store different kinds of elements within this, and also, since it is immutable, lists are immutable. So what does that mean? Sorry, lists are mutable. Lists are mutable. That means any item that we have stored initially, it can, we can remove that item and we can add any other item. So the items in the list can be replaced, removed, or it can be changed. All right. So next time, this is the original list I had. This is list one, and then list one another, this item I can also change as, if I don't want this tree, so I can just remove this tree. So I can just use these items, or maybe if I want to replace this fish with bird, then I can also do this.
And just for clarity, I know it seems like an obvious question, but so why would I want to use a list in the real world?
Okay, so that's a great question. So why do we want to add a list? For example, if a company wants to store the employee data, right? And the employee data, for example, the employee ID or the previous companies that he or she has worked for, his let me explain that with the coding. That will be more convenient for us. Please let me know if you can see my screen. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So for example, I have created a list. Employee data, and here I'm storing the name which is okay, John. So I store name, and John, why we are keeping it under double quotes, because John, the name is a string. String data types are always stored under, always written with single quotes or double quotes. And this is how Python understands that it is a string. Okay. And then I write down maybe the age of John, which is 30. And then the number of years of experience he has, maybe 10 years of experience, and he knows Python and C++, and then the role at which he's working is software engineer. Okay, and his current location might be, you know, London. Okay. So now this is the list that I have created originally. So suppose now the John's location has changed from London to maybe Bangalore. So now here we can easily replace this, and suppose he has now promoted to project manager. So now we can replace these data with the project from software engineer to project manager. And this is why list is used. Okay. So is that clear? Does that answer your question? Can we make a two-dimensional list like a matrix? Yes, Clara, we can make a two-dimensional list that, but that will be it comes under NumPy and pandas. So when you're learning NumPy and pandas, then you will able to know about that.
And I think I'll just add, although we don't have time to do this today, there's lots of different ways you can work with lists. Obviously, we're just giving you a basic one here, but yeah, there's all kinds of different ways you can do this.
Yeah, great. So this is why we create list. And so let's see how we can access different elements. So this is a list where the items can be changed, and that's why it is called mutable. And then we have something called tuples. Here the items cannot be changed. Once it is created, it cannot be changed. For example, I create a tuple, maybe location. Okay. Uh, for uh, for location, I create a tuple and I just write down the address of my home and maybe the flat number the flat number 892, or the SJR, the building name as SGR watermark, and the pin code, and I write down this pin code, and which will not be changed, which I do not want to change, and I want to keep it fixed. So these values that we do not want to change, that can be that needs to be stored in tuples rather than list. Okay, so we can just think of list as the name of the companies that you keep on changing, or your neighbors that can be replaced, that can be changed. But tuple is your family, the family members which cannot be replaced, right? So we can think of that as tuples and list. So all right, so please let me know if you have any question, or till now is it you are able to understand, and shall we go further with more operations with list? How can we proceed more with list?
Yeah, I think it's been really clear so far. So I think this group can be pushed a bit further now as we go towards the intermediate stuff.
Okay, great. So let's see certain operations with list. So we create certain operations with lists. Okay, awesome. So I create a list 1 and I write down 1, 3, 5, 7, the odd numbers. And then I create a list 2, which may contain 2, 4, 6, 8. So these are the two lists I've created. And now I want to also make sure when you are creating these lists, you're also running these cells by using this icon, or you can also use Shift Enter to run these cells. And now I want to add list 1 and list 2. So addition of list can be done by using plus operator. Okay, So I use this list 1 and list 2 and shift enter. Okay, so as we see that these items are just extended. The list 1 here, as we see 1357, and this the second list items is just extended over here. All right, so this is how we can perform list operations. And now I want to duplicate this items of this list 1 maybe 3 times. So how can I do this? So write down list 1 multiplied by 3 and shift enter. So we see here the items are written 3 times, 1357, 1357, and 13. And similarly, you can use any numbers and run this code. And this is how the items can be duplicated. Okay, sorry, repeated. All right. So now how can I find the sum of these numbers? And for this, we use list functions as well as list methods. So let's see how we can use list functions. So here I want to know that how many items are there in list 1. All right. So let's see. So in order to find out that, I need to write len and length of list 1, and here I see the answer as 4. Okay, so can you find, all right, so if I write down list 1 into 3, can you find out the length of this particular expression? What would be the length of list 1 into 3? Can I get an answer to this? $12. All right. Perfect. Amazing. Great. So everybody's getting the correct answer. That's awesome. So yes, we can use this. So how can you write down in Python? Either we can do this, list 1 into 3, and we see the answer as 12, and that's amazing. Everybody's correct. So can you all clap for yourself once for getting the right answer? Oh, that's great. Cool. Perfect. So either we can do this, or what I can do is I can just assign a variable name. For example, can you suggest any name for this?
Maybe budget.
Sorry?
Maybe like the budget or something.
Budget. Okay. All right. So let's take it as budget, and then I just,
I think I prefer
assign
Joanne's in the
this.
chat. She called it Bambi. That sounds a bit better.
Okay. Cool. All right. So I'll just write down Bambi, and okay. So I can write down this, and now, so length of Bambi, and I get answer as 12. So there are many ways to get the answers. So whichever you feel comfortable, and you can use it. And also make sure, I would suggest that if the coding looks more clear, and if it does not include a lot of complex variables, then that's always great. So make sure that when you're coding, it is much clearer and easy to understand. And whenever you are writing a piece of code, do not forget to comment it so that you know what you're doing. Maybe after some time when you look back to your code, that will be easy for you to remember that. Okay, so this is how we can use length. And now I want to find the sum of all these numbers. So how can I find out sum of list one, sum of all the items in list one? Okay, so so now I get the answer as 16. Cool. So what is the sum of Bambi? Can I get an answer for this? Perfect. Amazing. Great. John, Mark, Bawa. Okay. Awesome. Great. Garrick, thanks a lot. Okay, so this is how we can find out the sum and length. And now, so let's see another piece of code. Let's create another list. For example, I write down company names, or maybe, for example, fruits, name of the fruits. And you can suggest the name of the fruits, your favorite fruits that you like. Okay, here I write down grapes, apples,
We'll have a
mangoes.
banana. Can we have a banana?
Okay, great. Okay, fine. So, and maybe pineapple. Okay, so these are some of the name of the fruits, and I want to access a particular fruit like grapes. So how can I do it? Okay, so there is something called indexing in Python, and let's see how can we find out indexing. So in order to explain that, I'll just make some drawing so that we are more clear. Okay. So, all right. So here we have some fruit names, which I have written grapes, okay, and apples, banana, and maybe orange, and so on. Okay. So how indexing works in Python is, what is indexing? In through with the help of indexing, we can access the certain objects within the list or from tuples or other data types such as other data structures such as dictionary. So indexing in Python starts with 0, and so here the first item, it is at index 0, this is at index 1, this is at index 2, and this is at index 3. Okay, so if I want to access grapes, so what I can do is I just write down fruits and then 0, and I get it as grapes. Okay, so let's see how we can write a code with this. So these are the positive index. Here we have all right. So these are the positive index, and then we also have negative index. So negative index starts with, here it starts with -1, -2, -3, -4, and so on. So these two things that we need to remember, the positive index and negative index. So let's see how we can do the coding over here. Now it's your exercise. And the syntax for using index is the name of the list, and then you give these square brackets and the index, that is maybe 3, and shift enter. So sorry. Okay, fruits is not defined. Okay, I'm sorry. Since I had not run this piece of code, this particular cell. Okay, so now I get it as banana. All right. So now if I want to access mangoes, can you tell me which index that I need to use? I want to access mangoes. Suppose I want to access this mangoes, and which index that I need to use? 2. Okay, awesome. That's great. Perfect. -1, -2. Okay, Rafaela. Okay. All right. So this is the positive index that we are using too. So let's check this out. Fruits, and then 2, and then I do shift enter. Then mangoes. Wow, that's amazing. So everyone is correct. Amazing, John. All right, so negative index. So if I want to use the negative index and I want to access mangoes, then what is the index that I need to use to access mangoes? -2, no. Okay, John. Okay, most of you are writing -2. So that's not true. It starts with -1. So here pineapple is at -1, banana is at -2, and the mangoes is at -3. All right. So here I write down -3, and I get it as mangoes. So wow, amazing. A lot of you has given the right answers. That's awesome. So we are clear with indexing. If you are clear with indexing, please type in yes. So we'll move ahead to learning slicing. Okay, John, Frank's team.
Just check in. Is anybody a bit confused? Because you really can tell us. We can go over things again. If you're sitting there feeling now this has lost you, or if there's something you just want explaining, we can't help you without those questions. So please just check in. We've got some yeses. Is anybody? You're not silly. You're not running behind. Just anybody. This is a chance to say, hold on. Okay, well, feel free to put questions in as we go. We can always get them addressed, but it looks like you've got the go ahead, Rupa.
All right, great. So, okay.
Just one quick question from Varwa. How do we count the index, both positive and negative?
Just a second, I just lost. Yeah, can you see my screen,
Yeah.
the Google Collab screen?
Yeah, we've got your screen.
Okay, great. So how do we count the index, both positive and negative? Okay, great. So let me show you this again. Just a second.
The question also, does positive index start from the left to right, while the negative starts from right to left?
Okay, great. Yes, the positive index starts from left to right. As you can see, please let me know if you can see this indexing.
Yeah, we've got that.
Right. Okay. Yes. So positive index start from left to right, and the first number would starts from the first item would start from 0. So let me try to explain. Let me make it more easier. I have, suppose, item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, and item 5, and item 6. Again, so let's have just item 6. Okay, so an item 1, item 2 can be of any data types. It can be integer or float values, or it can be string or complex number, or it can also be list as well, or the tuples as well. Okay, so the indexing here starts with, if I want to start, I want to do the indexing, the positive index, it will start with this item 1. All right, so this will be 0, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So item 6 will be at the 5th index. All right, so now I want to do negative indexing. Negative indexing will always start from the last element, that is item 6, which is -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and -6. Okay, so is that clear? Does positive index start from left to right? Okay, great.
Very clear, thank you. And just a quick time check too, we're just coming up to halfway through this session, Rupa.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. I have too many windows open. I'm not able to find this. Okay. Yeah. Now I get this. So you can see the Google Collab window, right? Okay.
Yep.
So now
Okay.
let's learn what is slicing. So what is slicing? So here, let me take this particular list and let's see what is slicing. So slicing helps us to extract some pieces of information from that particular list. For example, I do not want all these fruits. I just want apples and mangoes. Okay, so how can I get these apples and mangoes instead of all these fruits? So for this reason, slicing helps us. And so we can use this. Here, apple is at index 1. So I use at 1, and then mangoes is at index 2. Okay, but in Python what happens is that if you write down 2, okay, let me just explain this here. So here the output that I want is apples and mangoes, so I've just written the index 1, that is apple, and for till the index 3. Okay, so when I do this, when I run this piece of code, I get apples and mangoes. So how Python works is it just, it gives the element which is 3 minus 1. It gives the last element, the last index minus 1. For example, here, for example, I want to get these two items, item 2 and item 3. So slicing, how it works is, suppose this is the list. Slicing, it works the way is list, and then item 1 is at index 1. And since item 2 is at index 2, but it just takes 2 plus 1, and we have to add 2 plus 1th index in order to get this item, that is 3. And then it gives me, the result I'll get is item 2 and item 3. So this is how Python works. So All right, so in order to understand that, let us do one exercise. So I want to access apples, mangoes, and banana. Can you tell me what is the slicing that I need to use? The output should be apples, mangoes, and banana. Please tell me the slicing index that we can use over here. Okay, 1:4. Okay, amazing. Okay, so let's see. Great. Thank you so much for responding, Clara, Frank, Wawa, Garrick, uh, Eugene, Branda. Amazing. Great. So let's Ozzy. Okay. So let's check this. 1:4. And so here we go. So we get the answer as apples, mangoes, and banana. All right. So this is how we need to use the slicing and indexing. As we can see here, the grape is at the index 0, apple at index 1, banana as index 2, sorry, mango at index 2, banana at 3. So till here I want to access, so I'll just add one more, 3 plus 1. So that's the index, the last index that I want to use. All right.
And just checking again with a use case, it seems really useful to use slicing. That if, for example, I had a load of stock in a shop, we were selling different kinds of fruit, but we wanted to pull out certain types, that are certain more healthy ones or certain things. It lets us start to organize this data in meaningful ways.
Right, exactly. So, okay, let us ask from the participants. Can you give an real-time example for slicing or indexing from your work area?
When might we use slicing or indexing? If someone wants to put their microphone on to tell us, that would be fine too. Who's got a real world example? Show us how clever you are. Just wait for people to type something maybe, but if someone wants to put their microphone on and be brave. So the question again, Varwa, is, so we've been looking at slicing and indexing. Think about the real world. When might we want to use slicing? How could that be useful for us? If we're coding, maybe coding an app, coding something, when might that be useful?
Okay, so the question again. Okay, so
yeah, I've just asked it again, so we've done that. So just checking. Did anyone type an answer? It's easy to learn the code, but how might we use it? That's got people thinking.
All right. So when you're, from your work area, from your domain of expertise, you can think about such examples that, how we can use your data, how we can use the data for slicing and indexing, and where these slicing and indexing could be helpful in your expertise of your area of expertise. All right. So this is how we use indexing and slicing. And then another one to use is, okay, so let's learn about, we learned functions in Python, functions for, list. And let's see what are different methods for list. So here I use the append method, and let's see how we can use this append method. All right. So this is the method that I want to use. So here I have this particular list. All right. And then I want to add some extra fruits to this particular list. So how I can do is I can just write down fruits dot append, and here I can write down another fruit such as, for example, orange. Okay, and now, so now as you can see that orange is added to this particular list and is the last element, last item that is added to this particular list. So this is how we can use append method if you want to add certain different items, new items to that particular list. And now let's see how we can use pop. uh, Another method is pop. And so what does it do is fruits dot pop. Okay, so as we can see here, pop just takes out the last item of that particular list. And now when I check this list, then the last item is not there. Okay, so all right. So now if I want to add an extra element, just a second. Let me draw something and try to explain.
And just while you're doing that, Rupert, I was just a message that which was sometimes people are shy, but you know, you could use slicing if you were creating a menu for a party about everyone who's a meat eater, who's a vegetarian, who's vegan. You know, and if it's not meat, you might slice the vegans and the vegetarians together. You know, but if actually we want just some vegan food, we might slice 3 ways. It's a really good way, of course, of breaking data up in meaningful ways to target towards the different needs, maybe of different customers, for example.
Exactly. I think great example, Paul. Thank you so much. All right. So this is how we can use append and, uh, you know, append pop. And another method is insert. So let's see how we use in the real time, how we can use for certain examples. And you can also apply this to your area of expertise. For example, so let's consider we have this particular shelf. Okay, here I have this shelf, and I have around maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. These are the 8 shelves that I have. And here, these are the indexing for this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and this is the 7. Okay, and here are certain items. And for example, I just write down the items as item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4, item 5, item 6, item 7, and item 8. All right, and I want to add extra items to this particular shelf, or maybe I want to add some books to the add extra books to this particular shelf. So which method I can use? Can you type in the chat window? Slicing for finding out customers with the same credit score in lending. Perfect. Thank you, Garrick. Thanks for this example. That's awesome. Amazing. Okay, so the next question is, if I want to add books, maybe I want to add a book 1 to this particular shelf. So which method I need to use? I want to add it here. Okay, Mark says append. Great. So exactly. So this is, suppose, okay, I take the name as shell. Yes. Okay. So if I want to add extra items, so I can use as append, or maybe let me write down list. So list dot append and book one. All right. So I can add. So here this particular item gets added. So now, so suppose let's come back to the original one. Okay. So now if I want to remove this item 8, which method that I need to use in order to remove this item? Okay, pop. All right, awesome. That's great. Thank you so much, everyone. Okay, so now another one is, let's see what does this particular insert does. Insert method does is, so suppose I want to add here at the bookshelf 2. Here I want to add, instead of item 3, I want to add maybe certain cookies, okay, at this particular index, at the third rack. Okay, so how can I do it? So here insert helps us. So let's see how we can write a code with this. So for example, let's take an example of fruits. All right, so here I have fruits like at the zeroth index, we have grapes and apples and mangoes, and I want to add, oranges at the second index. So what I can do is I can just write down fruits at second index and orange. Okay, and I run this piece of code. And here, so here as we can see that orange has been added, it has been replaced instead of mangoes at the second index. All right, so this is how we can use append, pop, and uh, sorry, this is how we can use this, replace that particular item. And if I want to use insert method, so let's check that out, how we can use insert method. For this, here I can do fruits and dot insert. And at the third index, I want to add, for example, I want to add mangoes. And now let's run this piece of code. Shift enter. So as we can see here, at the third index, this mango is added, right? So in order to use insert, we just have to, in order to add extra items without replacing the item, we can just use fruits dot insert and mention the the index at which we are going to add that particular item and the name of the item. All right. So let me know if you find this useful. Please type in useful if you find this useful. And and then we'll do one exercise to check your knowledge if you are learning well. Okay, great. Thank you, Wawa. Thank you, Mark. That's awesome. Great. So now I want to add, suppose at the fourth index, or okay, sorry, at the fifth index, I want to add um, any fruit name that you would want to suggest.
It has to be a kiwi now.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Kiwi. Okay, so at the fifth index, I want to add kiwi. So can you type in the piece of code that what do we need to write? So the exercise is at the fifth index, I want to add kiwi. All right. At the fifth index, okay, great, amazing. Yeah, perfect. So if I want to add at the fifth index, I want to add kiwi. I just have to mention 5 and kiwi. Okay. So let's check this. So I just write down fruits dot index and then 5 and kiwi. Okay. And okay, why does it give me wrong answer? Oh, sorry.
Is it the brackets?
No. It's I've written index, which is it should be insert. Alright. So please ignore this. This should be fruits dot insert and 5 and then kiwi. Okay. So let's check this. Okay,
Perfect.
so this I get 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, since I've run it twice, this is twice. I get this kiwi as twice. Okay, so now let's see how can we count the number of a particular item in that list. So suppose here I have kiwi as 2 times. So how can I count this? And so we can use fruits dot count and then mention this item, and now here I get it as 2. Okay, so this is how we can use count option in order to find the how many times this particular item has been used. All right, so now another trick is that just a second. So here I have this fruits. Okay, so now at the fourth position I want to add kiwi. So can you just write down the code for me, piece of code for me? If I want to add at the fourth position kiwi, Okay, Wawa says 4 kiwi. All right. 3. Okay. Great. So let's check this. So if I write down fruits dot insert, let me run this. Okay. Set fruits dot insert, and then I've written that at the 4th position I want to add kiwi, right? So here, now do I get at the 4th position? Yes, I get
Yeah, I
kiwi
think
at the
so.
4th
Fine.
position. So do you understand the difference between indexing and positioning? So here kiwi is at the index 3, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, isn't it? And but it is at the 4th position in that particular list. So since indexing always starts with 0, we have to write down 3 and kiwi. So if somebody asks you that at the 4th position or maybe at the 5th position that I want to add, so just subtract the number by 1. At the suppose if I want to add at the nth position, then when you're using index, just write down n minus 1. Okay. So do you find this useful? And if it is a bulb on moment, please write down bulb on. Okay, great.
So I think everyone's with you.
Okay.
And we're coming
Amazing.
into the final 20 minutes, Rupa.
Yeah. So now we'll just take a break for 1 or 2 minutes, and if anyone has any question or suggestion or anything that they want to share.
I just wanted to mention one thing, if no one's coming in, which was something you mentioned yesterday, Rupa, and showed us about how because you haven't done it so much this time, how important it is to keep notes within your code as well.
Yeah, about comments. You're talking about comments?
Yes, exactly. Because you've been in lots of different things. We could be coding quite a lot. Somebody else might be looking at our code too. And how do we make sure that, we can navigate through it?
Right. So yes. So here, since we are, at suppose here what we did is added kiwi to the 4th position, right? So we can just right now adding kiwi to the 4th position, and then you can write a piece of code here, so you will understand that what we are trying to achieve. So the commenting is quite important, and so when you write this comment, when you write this comment, then it becomes quite easier for us to understand that what we were trying to achieve, because after some time when you look at the code, then it creates a lot of confusion, and we forget that what we were trying to actually do.
And maybe
So,
if two of you are on a team coding, and you leave it for someone else, you might leave some comments like, I'm not really happy with this code. Could you check it over? This is what I'm trying to achieve here. And without that, it just becomes long, long lines of code that's going to be really hard to, understand and navigate.
yeah, exactly. So okay, so let's do some more of this, and we'll do some with negative indexing, so that we are also clear with negative indexing. So here we have fruits. So now I want to access Kiwi. So can anyone suggest with the negative indexing what is the expression that I want to write, that I need to write? If I want to access Kiwi, so this will be at -3, right? Perfect. So this is at -3, right? And if I want to access grapes, yes, this is for positive indexing and for negative indexing. All right, so -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, and it will be -6, right? So, and also please remember that negative indexing always starts with, right to left, and positive always starts with, um, uh, left to right, okay? So here we can write down as negative indexing, okay? So now I want to reverse this entire list. So how can I reverse this entire list? Is fruits and then 2 times the semicolon and -1. So when you write down this, it just reverses the entire list. All right. So okay, so this is how we can, reverse the entire list. And also, I would request you to, make a note of all of this, whatever we are learning today, as well as we can also use this reverse methods. And again, okay, sorry. Okay, now when I see this, this again reverses um, the fruits that we have got. Okay, so this is how we can use why would we reverse a list. Okay, so there can be any application for reversing a list, and maybe any of you can give an answer from your area of domain. Okay, suppose if we have bought items from a certain e-commerce website, and the dates at which we have purchased the items. For example, maybe in January I purchased something, and then in March I purchased something, right? And then May, June, December, or something. If I purchased some of the items, and now I want to check that the list of items, the latest items that I have purchased, so I can just reverse those entire list, and then I get the latest items that comes first, and the last the first item that I have purchased is now it's shown in the last option, right? It's similar to when we are storing any files, then we get the list of items, the items that we had created long back. It just gets at the uh, at the um, last in the list, and then the items that we have created recently, it gets first in the list. But if we want to check the items, the first items that we have created, we can just reverse those order. And similarly, you can access you can use this reverse option in any of your work area. Okay, so does that answer your question? can we also sort the list from smallest to largest? Okay, great. So yes, we can also do that. Suppose we have list 1, and here I have certain items like 4, 8, 5, 3. Sorry, here is 4, 2, 7, 9, maybe 3 and 8. And now I want to sort this items of the list. So sort list 1. Just a second. If I want to sort this, okay, it is like sorted. All right. Okay, now, so yes, we need to write down sorted, and then we get this item as, which is in the ascending order. All right. So, and then if you want to reverse this, you can always use dot reverse. And if I use this as dot reverse, okay, so again, I get this original list. So it doesn't get reversed. So since I've already reversed it, maybe it will. Okay. Sorry, here it doesn't come like that. So I think we can just sort it once. And so this is how we can use sorting of the list from in the ascending order, and then we use reversing of the list. So okay, so any of you have any question? Okay. So how many of you have learned in last 2 workshop or today's workshop? And how do you feel that now, are you confident about Python? And so how much do you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in Python now? How do you feel confidence? How do you feel about your confidence in Python? Okay, Clara.
So this isn't, you know, that you know everything about Python. It's just how does your confidence feel compared to when you first started?
Exactly.
1 to 10. Gone up to 4, Joanne. That's pretty good. Given this is intermediate, suggests you're intermediate. Frank's up at 9.
Oh, that's awesome. Great.
We've got 5 from Monty. How do they get to learn a bit more with you also, Rupa?
Yeah, we have courses from AI. We have recorded courses, as well as it's a blended course where we offer courses, recorded courses, as well as so that you can learn with your convenience and your pace, as well as we also provide live sessions once in a week, so that we can check your doubts, we can clarify your doubts, and also we are on the same page, and we are learning and growing together. It's a community that we are creating with these LMS systems. So we have our LMS systems. So if anyone of you is looking forward to learn more on Python, then you can get in touch with me. And we can learn more. Right. Invite you to fill this. Amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. And you can also, connect with me on LinkedIn. So if you feel that there is a lot more to learn, please type in the chat window more. So what we have done in these last two sessions are it's just confidence building for you, so that you can still you're not scared about Python anymore, and you understand that Python is not a nightmare. You can easily learn to code in Python even if you have never coded before. All right, so let me share something that okay. So what